Hello, my name is John Pointer. I'm here today to talk to you about how I became a social entrepreneur. I grew up in a small town 60 miles south of Nashville in the 60s. My hometown is Columbia, Tennessee. I was a pretty decent football player. During those times, I witnessed live on television all the reports from the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., as well as our president, President John Kennedy. I saw segments and signs of the Jim Crow era. I saw signs there at the public town square for coloreds and for whites. I was also a prodigy. I was part of the generation that was under the integration laws, that I could go to public school and be educated amongst white teachers and have white students as my fellow students. So it was a time of learning. My mom and dad did outstanding support. They grew up in Christian environments. I had a chance to go to either an African, Episcopalian, Methodist church, AME, where my father attended. That was less than a quarter of a mile to the right of our home, where a majority of my friends in the neighborhood attended. But better yet, I went a lot of times to the Church of Christ, where my mom attended, and it was about 2 miles in directions to the left of the house. I'm proud to announce that my grandfather was part of pioneering the first African American Church of Christ in this area. My father was in the retail store business. He started off sacking groceries. He eventually became the first in the state of Tennessee manager of the Atlantic and Pacific A&P food stores in the state of Tennessee. So I've got a little heritage, got a little pride. I have an older brother. He graduated from Middle Tennessee State University. What I'm going to do is tell you about how, after I attended Vanderbilt University as a student athlete and moved on to play professional football, both in the Canadian Football League and the National Football League, how I had a chance to gain some of the knowledge and understanding and character traits of being a social entrepreneur. So what I'd like to do today is just talk about some of the behaviors to understand what does it take to be a social entrepreneur. You might ask, what is the meaning? What is the definition of being a social entrepreneur? Well, definition states that a social entrepreneur is someone who may have a great education, may have had an outstanding business background, or just may be financially wealthy. Well, those are the top tiers. If you're someone who wants to get involved with which that is particularly millions of people, millions across this world, who are willing and wanting to get involved, what you need to do is bring in your type of assets, whether it is based on your academics, based on your job employment, or your financial background. If you're a former pro football player, if you're a top executive, or you may be an administrative assistant, you bring in that wealth of knowledge plus any financial dollars and know-how in order to utilize those financial dollars. You bring those back into underserved community areas. There must be hands-on. You must show to the families in that underserved community that you are real, that this is just not for a one-day snapshot. You bring in certain products, you bring in school notebooks, or you bring in tennis shoes for the day. It's got to be something of assistance. Now, there are 10 steps as far as being a social entrepreneur that I want to make sure you understand that I go by. Number one, identify your focus of concern. Right now, there are so many national and international issues that I know you want to get out of your chair, get off your couch, and help, but you don't know what to do or how to do it. Try to understand what is your focus and what's going to be your purpose and your intent, because if not, it's going to overwhelm you. Number two, make sure you have plans to be hands-on. Make sure it's just not going to be, as I mentioned before, a one-day event, which nothing's wrong with that. But make sure that if you bring in a truckload of food, you bring in a tractor-trailer load of clothing, be there to deliver. Be there to receive families that are truly grateful and thankful for your assistance. But also there may be extra steps. You may need to find out if the clothing is only for summertime, what are they going to do during the wintertime? Or who's the contact in that particular area? And how can you help them in further needs? Okay, the next step I want you to think about is find a particular go-to person. See who's coordinating a lot of this. Not on your side, because it may be from your church, your city, a particular group that you're affiliated with, or maybe your pro team, or your sorority or your fraternity. Find a coordinator from the side of need in order for you to really understand, is this what you need at this particular moment? Are these clothings some of the items that you need? Now, on a next level, if it's about housing, if it's about small business, if it's about healthcare concerns, then you need to go to doctors, you need to go to nurses, you need to go exactly to the source of what's going on. How can I help? I'm here to add my business acumen. I'm here to add my contacts and my connections. The next step, go back and create a game plan. You got to have a game plan. Now, mind you, that game plan is going to often change, but you got to have a game plan. You got to understand what is it that you individually will be bringing to the table, and if you're affiliated with a select group, how is it that your group is going to prevail? I'm sure if you're with an affiliation of your sorority, your fraternity, your organized team, athletic teams, there's going to be a major game plan. just see how it can work, your intermediate game plan affiliated with the big scheme of things. It makes things go a lot better. Next, you got to seek allies. Yes, I told you to find a coordinator, but you got to also see if before there's a big movement of everybody that helped, on the front end, make sure you stay in contact as best as possible with a few families, or if you're dealing with small business entities, with a few of the small businesses, or if it's families who are in dire need of health concerns, stay in touch with some of those families. It can make sure that, again, it's not going to be a one-time thing. It's not going to be just for photo ops. It's about longevity. And being a social entrepreneur, you have to make sure that this is going to last as long as it possibly can, while seeking alternatives. I got to bring that up. You got to find a way to change, and that's a next step that I want to talk about. Your job as an entrepreneur, if you're helping a community, if you're helping small businesses, if you're helping on healthcare concerns, go in and put out the fire. Help as best as possible. But you got to find ways to say, okay, 5 days from now, 5 years from now, will there be a difference in what I'm doing? And that's how you have to look at it. Can I make a difference in being a change agent? The next step I want to discuss is about internally presenting your game plan to your team. Now, your team may be your family, your close friends, your teammates, your co-workers, anybody of the intermediate group, your clan. Make sure that you all are all involved collectively instead of being disjointed. Because if you're disjointed and you get off a bus when you arrive there, or you drive up to a particular area, there's going to be a lot of dysfunction. By nature, it's going to be some dysfunction, but you don't want it to be really just where it takes too much of your time for everybody to get in sync. You're losing time. Time is of the essence when you're trying to aid and assist underserved communities. They need positive steps the first day you arrive. Again, my next point of view is you gotta ask questions. Just don't be there with a smiling face and signing autographs, taking photo ops. Make sure you blend in with those who need your service. Ask questions. Ask, is this action that I'm doing today and that we're doing overall, will it benefit you a week from now or a year from now? You got to find out if it's worth the while. Okay? And the last step I want to talk to you about is you got to be real. You must be real, because those families in need will know that if you're there, again, just to sign autographs, just to take a few pictures and put it on your Snapchat, or to take pictures in front of the news video guy, they will know. They may go along with it because they need whatever you're bringing to the table, per se, but they need your support. and they need it even physically after you're gone. So make sure you are real if you want to become a social entrepreneur. This is John Pointer. I want to thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you. If you need my assistance, I'll provide my contact information. Thank you. Take care. Peace.